Hey, I'm Rob. And today we're going to talk about this sign that I made. We start with CorelDRAW with an SVG file. That SVG file needs to be exported. Sorry, it's a CorelDRAW file. We exported it as SVG. It goes into the folder where we want to put it. You hit save. You hit OK. And then you open Estlcam. Estlcam is a software you set the paths for your cutting. So you open that SVG up first. And then you go and check out which tools you're going to use to cut it. And so you can have 1/8 inch bit, 1/4 inch bit, whatever. You go into the special settings and you make sure that the bit has the right diameter set so that it can offset it on the inside or the outside of the hole or the part that you're cutting. The tip angle, if it's a flat end mill, is 180 degrees. Verify that your flute count is correct. And this particular one's a 2 flute upcut. We're not going to do troll coating milling. Depth per pass is important because if you need to step based on your materials, you want to go in several different levels. So if it's wood, it's probably like, between 2 and 6. But this is foam, so we're going to go full depth. And then your feed rate, you want to go pretty fast. This is going to be for a foam cutout. So then we go to make sure that it works with our CNC. We have to select the right post processor. GRBL is used for Flute NC. Marlin is used for the Marlin firmware. And then I made one for Clipper. And so I load the Clipper post processor. It's a little bit different because it specifies the G numbers. With Marlin, it shows G01, G02, G03. In GRBL, it's similar, G01, G2, G03. But in the Clipper post processor, it doesn't work with those as much, so it goes G1, G2, G3, and I found that actually works. So, selector paths, we want to select parts. The first thing on this, well, actually, I like to start in the middle, so I work my way out. So if we select holes, we select the inner parts of things that we're going to want to cut out. So the insides of the A's, the Y's, the E's. So we're using the 1/8 inch bit. That's selected while we do this. If you select it wrong, you can always select everything and then select it again. So do the mouth, the nose, and just the inner parts, and the rest of it's going to be what's called an island. Oh yeah, inside the hand there between the fingers. So we're going to make something called an island. And so then what you have to do is you have to make everything else be a part, which means it's going to cut on the outside of the letter. So the Grinch, this part, the hand, the ornament, the Mary, the outside of this face, the hat, the tassel, and then you select a hole and you do the outline. Click on that, and then you go and click the select button, or the island button, which is kind of covered with that thing. And it does everything between those parts that you cut and the whole outline around it. So it will find some pattern. So you can do the same thing with his face. You do parts around the inside pieces, do a hole around the outside piece, and then select island, and then it fills that part in, and it will remove that as a pocket. But it's a functional pocket with pieces that don't get cut. So there's patterns inside the pocket. Then we call that an island. So then we do select everything, and we set the pocket depth at 5 millimeters. And then we see, okay, the part for this is the final outline. So it'll have a raised outline around the outside of the sign. Depending on what you're cutting, you may need to get a longer bit. In our case, it's 1.5 inch foam, so it has to be a really long bit. And it doesn't look like we have one that we can use set up. So we can just make another one real quick. And so I'm looking at all these different So we'll make a new tool entry. You just click on the next one at the bottom, give it a name. Foam 0 flute. It should be a 2 flute straight rather than a 2 flute bit or something, but it's a vertical bit with 2 flutes. It's actually 6 millimeters, and so I put 6.35. The total Z depth is I put 52. One and a half only needs to be 38 and a half. We're gonna run it as fast as we can, so 3,000 would probably be okay, and then plunge at 800. And if you need to go look at the finer points of it, you can, but it should default to correct other than the 2 flutes. So then we select that, and we're ready to go. As long as that's selected, we can set some holding tabs. We make some holding tabs, and then we typically want to select the holding tab height to be 5 millimeters and the holding tab length to be 5 millimeters. And save the CNC program, which is going to generate the G code, give it a name, and you hit save, and then you can look at the path, but we're going to skip that. We want to go upload the file now. So we're going to go down and get to our CNC. On Clipper, we go to G code files. You can see that the cutter's there. That's the cut piece. We click upload in the G code file section. We select the correct file, and then it shows up down below. Look for the file in the viewer. If you want to run it, you right click, or you can view it. So you right click and view it, and in the 3D viewer, it will redraw the file for you. You can move it around, X and Y. You can look at the height of it from the side, so you can see where the holding tab there is in the front underneath the M. And you can see there that the holding tab is the full thickness of the cut, which typically I don't do that, but we did on this one. That's okay. But you can kind of see, does it look like it's supposed to? Does it look like it's going to fit? Is it the right orientation? Turns out that wasn't ideal. We didn't set the correct depth. We set it at 25. The depth of that outer cut shouldn't be 25 because that's only an inch. We want to go an inch and a half. So inch and a half times 25.4 equals 38.1. So we want to go like maybe a little bit more, so 38.5, so that we clear the bottom of the foam. And then say OK. It will generate your G code. You then save it. You can look at how it's going to cut, the order that it's going to go. If you want, that's the preview. And then you just hit OK when you're done. You can go back to your G code file section. Or you can, in Clipper, you can home the X and the Y. Then it turns on the X motor, then it turns on the Y motor, and it's ready to go. This has an offset for where the end stops are, so it moves up to where the workpiece automatically based on where the fixture's set. Now the Z axis doesn't move, so we zero or fake Z. That's my 0 for the Z axis. And then you can drop that down slow until it comes to the surface. It just so happens that the view camera fits for this. And then we move it out a little bit and see when it touches the material. Looks like about right there. And then we can zero the Z-axis again and raise it up like 5 or 3. And press enter. And you can tell it where to go just by typing the numbers in, so that's kind of nice. If we move the X and the Y out a little bit, then we're away from the edges. So we can move those out, and then maybe not quite 10, but 5. But then you go down and I have a 0 for the X, Y, then sets OK. X and Y are now at 0, and we're offset by 5 and 10. And if we have a problem, we can go to regular home to square the system, and then go to 5 and 10. If you use the upload and print button, then it'll start cutting immediately, which is why I go to the G-code section and I load the upload button, and then you can hit the print button, and it prints. Rather, it doesn't print; it's print software. It cuts. So this is cutting the final outer edge, and there's the finished piece right there. So that's it.